Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Amma ba'd. This morning we have Al-Kaba'ir al-Thaniya wa-Sab'un, number 72. Man wasama dabatan fil wajh. The author says, the next major sin is to brand an animal in the face. It's to brand an animal in the face. Whether it's your pet, whether it's your cow, your donkey, your horse, whether it's your bull, your cattle, your livestock, your farm. And in order to allow people to know that this is your possession, this is your property, no one can steal it and gets lost and mixed with other animals, you cannot do this in the face of the animal. In the face of the animal. So he says it is a major sin to brand an animal in the face. The author here, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says dabba, which includes in its generality anything that moves, humps and bumps on the earth. Crawls, walks, jumps, skips, 2 legs, 4 legs, 8 legs, 6 legs, that which moves fast, that which moves slow, that which sits on its tail. Anything that is a dabba, you're not allowed to brand it in the face. Khairan inshallah, anything, whatever type of animal it may be. The next benefit that we take just from the topic or the unwan is that if a person brands the animal in a place besides his face, then it's not necessarily a major sin. It doesn't say that it's halal and isn't haram, but we understand that it isn't a major sin according to the author, because he clearly mentioned fil wajh. He said in the face. And obviously, there are many places on an animal in which you can brand it besides the face. So the purpose of identification, keeping your property, keeping your wealth safe can be achieved without it being on the what? The face. And he specifically mentioned that. And if it was just to brand the animal, period, then he would have said, man wasama dabatan. He who brands an animal. Because why would you have to brand an animal in the face? Especially if it's a big animal, an ox. Everybody understand this? Yak. It's a huge animal. You can brand it on his shoulder, his leg, his behind, his backside. There's a million places to brand the animal. Everybody understand this? So therefore, him mentioning this qaid, يدل على أنه مقصود, is that it's an intent behind it. And it doesn't just mean يعني خرج مخرج الغالب. All right? If you say don't hit a brother in the face. In other words, in most cases when people get into a fight, or 2 people get in an argument, or somebody slap boxing, you aim for the face. Or people in boxing, especially an experienced boxer or an onlooker or a judge or someone in the crowd, he always thinks about the one who's hitting in the face is winning. But that's not necessarily what? The case. Everybody understand this? That's one thing. I say don't punch him in the face because in most cases people punch in the face. It doesn't necessarily mean that I don't mean to punch in the stomach. But here it's different because it's an animal that has a broad body and there's no necessary need for it to be branded in the what? Face. Khairan inshallah. So this, he says, is from the major sins. Now, perhaps you may ask, what's the wisdoms behind this? Or what is the wisdom behind it? Some of the wisdoms that we know of. Perhaps from those wisdoms is that this proves a great deal of cruelty. A great deal of cruelty. You have an inhumane nature. You have a very hard and solid heart. Whereas you wish to put this smoldering hot piece of iron on a sensitive part of the animal, which is his face. And then burning the animal is only the beginning step. What's going to happen when the pus comes, when it scabs, if it gets infected, it becomes swollen, and its vision is what? It does what? It hinders his vision. It can't see, or it can't eat. Or what is the animal going to do when it has to defend itself with its horns, or with its head, or bite? And it can't do that because of the extreme pain of the swelling branded mark. So a great deal of pain and suffering is going to be given to this what? This animal. So for you to do that proves that you have a great deal of cruelty in your heart. And as we explained yesterday, and in many other classes, a lot of these major sins, sometimes they are indicators for bigger problems. And that oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes, it's not necessarily the thing itself, but it's what the thing what? Proves. Like yesterday, holding people back from extra water, from public water sources. It proves something that's in the heart. Something's wrong in your heart. No one in their right mind, in the right spiritual state would do something like that. To brand an animal in its face when it's a whole body in which you can brand the animal. Everybody understand this? So this is from the wisdoms of this. And this also goes to show us that there are animal rights in Islam. There are animal rights in Islam, as we've explained before. But those animal rights, some of the rights are in accordance with the modern people say today. And some of those rights are in total infringement of what the people say today. They say slaughtering an animal with a sharp blade is infringement of animal rights. Cruelty to animals. So that, we say, no, there's no animal rights in Islam, if that's what you mean. Eid adha, you can't slaughter the cow or the goat. And it's the blood, it pours in the streets of Bangladesh. You say that's animal cruelty. So if that's your definition of animal cruelty, and he asks, does Islam support animal cruelty? We'll be forced to say what? Yes, it does. And if you mean branding an animal in the face, beating it, hitting it unnecessarily, starving it, putting tons of weight on its back and things like this, and we say, then no, we agree with you in animal rights. Everybody understand this? And the same applies to anything else with regards to women's rights, and the list goes on. Khairan, inshallah. The author, rahimahullah ta'ala, then says, hadith number 411, عن جابر رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مر بحمار قد وسم في وجهه فقال لعن الله الذي وسمه أخرجه مسلم. وعند أبي داود فقال أما بلغكم أني لعنت من وسم البهيمة في وجهها أو ضربها في وجهها ونهى عن ذلك. And before we go on and mention the lil, if you can't brand an animal in the face, then what is the case of branding a human being in the face? Let alone just branding a human being. Everybody understand this? And perhaps this also shows us the ugliness of the people who get tattoos in their face today. Getting a tattoo on your face. Because the face is supposed to be noble. The face is supposed to be respected. Now, we mentioned previously the ruling on getting tattoos, that is haram. And it's one of the major sins. But getting a tattoo on the face, perhaps it's even worse. Because the face is supposed to be tender, soft, sensitive, and noble. And that is why when you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you put your face on the ground. And the salah is the ultimate manifestation of humility. It's the ultimate manifestation of servitude. Whereas you put the most noble thing that you have on the ground, on the dirt. It's a great deal of humility. And other people who bow down to their saints, to their teachers, and some cultures and martial arts worlds and communities, the teacher bows down to the student as well. But they don't necessarily put their face on the ground. They may just go a little bit from the surface, bend their backs over. But the sujood is specific. The face is totally on the ground. And that's a major manifestation of humbleness and humility. Or when you're traveling and you're in a train station, or you're in an airport, or you're in a hospital, or you're at work, and you find a clean, quiet corner and you make the salah. And you may not have a prayer rug, and you pray without a prayer rug. Or you put your vest down or your jacket down, whatever the case may be. But you may not have a prayer rug. You have to pray. It's time to pray. You got to stand up. The non-Muslims, when they see that, they may not like it. They may not agree with it. But they're going to be forced to respect it. They're going to be forced to respect it. Like, wow, this guy is really devoted. He's in the airport. No one knows him. He's by himself, minding his business, and it's time to pray, and he puts his face on the ground. Most people, they don't even want to bend their backs over when they go to church or the synagogue or whatever the case may be. But you put your face on the ground. And this is the secret why the place of worship is called the masjid. And there are other positions in the salah. There's ruku', there's jalsa, there's qiyam, there's coming out of qiyam. But none of those names are given to the place of worship, but it's only called the masjid. And that goes to show you the nobility of the sujood. And that's why the ulama of Islam, they differ on what is more virtuous when it comes to the night prayer and when it comes to the voluntary prayer. Tul al-sujood or tul al-qiyam. Standing longer or being in sujood longer. Khairan, inshallah. So therefore, when you get a tattoo on your face, first and foremost, it's a tattoo. Second of all, it's a manifestation of your sin. You can get a tattoo and hide. I can have a tattoo. You don't know. You never seen my arms. You don't know what's here. But I put it on my face. I'm showing everybody, hey, look, I got a tattoo. Let alone the fact that it's very sensitive. And this is the destruction of something that shouldn't be what? Destroyed. Khairan, inshallah. So the author, he mentions the hadith of Jabir, that one day the Prophet ﷺ passed by a donkey. And the donkey was branded in his face. He said, Allah curse the one who did this. He said, may Allah curse the one who did this to this donkey. And hadith is collected by Imam Muslim. He says, Imam Abu Dawud has collected this hadith, and he said, haven't you heard? He said to the Sahaba, he says, haven't you heard that I have cursed those who do this? I curse those who brand an animal in his face. He then said, oh, darabaha fi wajhiha, or hit the animal in his face. So it's another major sin, is to hit the animal in his face. He says, وَنَهَا عَنْ ذَلِكَ, and he forbade that. Khairan inshallah. The author he then says, فَقَوْلُهُ صلى الله عليه وسلم أَمَا بَلَغَكُمْ أَنِّي لَعَنْتُ يفهم منه أن من لم يبلغه الزجر غير آثم وأن من بلغه وعرف فهو داخل في اللعنة وكذا نقول في عامة هذه الكبائر إلا ما علم منها بالاضطرار من الدين. Listen very carefully to this golden principle that the author gives you. Golden principle that you can take and use in so many different issues of Islam, on your daily 9-to-5 life in New York City, a student of knowledge, going to Medina, the different questions that the people have from around the world that we hear in the Q&A. Listen to this principle. He says, when the Prophet ﷺ says, أَمَا بَلَغَكُمْ أَنِّي لَعَنْتُ مَنْ فَعَلَ ذَلِكَ, he says, أَنِّي لَعَنْتُ, he says here, he says, have you not heard, أَمَا بَلَغَكُمْ أَنِّي لَعَنْتُ, haven't you heard that I curse those who do this? He says, we understand from this is that those who don't hear about the text, what the hadith says, that it's haram and it's impermissible and it's a means of being cursed, those who don't hear about it, it doesn't reach them, it doesn't go to them, is that they are not included in the curse if they didn't know about it. If they had what? Ignorance. If they had ignorance. I didn't know it was haram all this time. I never knew I couldn't dye my hair black. I didn't know I couldn't shave my beard. I didn't know that it was haram for a woman to walk outside with perfume. I didn't know. Somebody may say this. All right? He says this proves that this major sin, in most, he says, ammat, not all of them, he says most major sins are the same, except for that which is well known from the religion, in which there's no excuse. Everybody understand this? Every Muslim is supposed to know you can't drink alcohol. That isn't something that only the Muslims in Saudi know, only the practicing Muslims, only the Sunni Muslims, only the people of ilm. La 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 la. Every Muslim should know that. Every Muslim knows khamr is khinzir is haram, pork. Every Muslim knows you can't sleep around. You can't have a boyfriend or girlfriend and sleep with them. That's well known. But there are many other things, like we said, can I dye my hair black? Most Muslims, there's difference of opinion among the ulama, let alone the normal people. They say, I never even knew it was haram. I never knew it was a hadith that says it's cursed. I never knew it's a hadith that says they won't smell the fragrance of paradise. Many women, they'll say, I never knew it was haram to leave the house without perfume on. I never knew. In my country, in my culture, my mother did it, my grandmother did it. When it was a wedding, we would go out and put on bottles and bottles of perfume, lipstick, makeup, high heels, and we'd go outside. It was normal. And when they weren't unchaste women, they weren't scandalous women. They were going to the wedding hall, and they were going to dance and eat at the walima, and that's it. We never knew it was haram. Everybody understand this? One day when I was in Yemen, I was in a bookstore. It was Dar al-Athar bookstore then, in Sana'a, in the capital, and I bought some books. And one of the books that I bought was called Al-Jami' li-Ahkam al-Lihya. It's a comprehensive study on the rulings of the beard by one of the tulab of Sheikh Muqbil rahimahullah from Damaj. So as I had the book in the cab, I was sitting there and I was getting in the cab to go back home. The bookstore was a little far from my house where I was staying. It was a bit far actually. So we're driving and the cabbie, he says to me, after you start basic conversation, okay, he says, so you looked at the book? And he said, oh, the beard. I was like, yeah. So he's seen in the book, he really says, haram. It says that I can't shave my beard, I can't do this. I said, la yajuz, it's impermissible. He almost basically stopped the car. He's like, what? He said, I never heard of that. I never knew that. He says, I never knew in my life that it was haram to shave a beard. And this guy speaks Arabic, living in Yemen, a land of great ulama, and where there was San'ani and Shokani and this one and that one, let alone Sheikh Muqbil and his disciples. And he didn't know that it was haram to shave a beard. So he thinks somebody else is in a far land that doesn't speak Arabic, that's even further from any type of Islamic scholarship. It's Yemen, land on which the ulama, fuqaha, people of hadith. Everybody understand this? And the more you travel, you go to different parts, you'll be shocked at the ignorance of many, 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 many Muslims. You'll be shocked. Unbelievable amount of ignorance. Sometimes they have an excuse because they may be surrounded by evil scholars, or they may be surrounded by lazy students of knowledge. They don't want to teach, or cowards. They're afraid of getting boycotted. They're afraid of the government. They're afraid of not having a good position. And they're afraid of not getting a beautiful wife if they speak the truth and stand up and deliver the sunnah to the people. You can talk like that if you want, but you're not going to have a government position. Now, you want to be a government licensed to mufti. You have a big house, a huge library. You have a beautiful wife, big car. You have servants and slaves at your hand, chauffeurs and drivers. But you cannot talk about the sunnah. You only talk about what we understand of a Hanafi madhab. That's it. And the moment you go outside of that, you lose your job. The moment you do a khutbah, and the khutbah is not prepared, and we don't agree with the topic, and you deliver it and show us what the khutbah is going to be about before Friday, you lose your job. Many people around the world today are surrounded by people like this. People that are cowards, that are afraid, people that love money more than they love the deen. All right? Or people that are just lazy, and they don't understand the power of knowledge, the power of ilm, the power of the sunnah. And many people, they are ignorant because they don't have another option. And if you actually sat with them and talked to them and explained to them, perhaps they would listen and they would learn. Are there stubborn people? Without a question. Are there people that are old and stale and mentally messed up and don't care? Without a question. Are there people that are prejudiced? Or people that are looking at you because you're young or you're a different race? No doubt about that. But many people are just poor, normal 9-to-5 Muslims, and they just don't know. And if they did know, they would do better. Many people, all right? You go and you travel around the world, you'll see this, okay? You go to Turkey, the place where the Khilafah used to be, the leader of the Muslim world. There were 7 climates and 3 continents, if not maybe more towards the end of the empire. Right there. They made the rules for the Muslims. You go there, you go to a hotel, you go to a restaurant, you get on a bus, you walk down the street, and somebody asks you the most simple question, and they just don't know. And this is where Islam was ran, administered, let alone New York City, let alone Philadelphia, let alone New Jersey. And the list goes on. So he says that this proves that if it doesn't reach them, they're not held responsible. And we say that being excused because of ignorance is of 2 types. The first is those who are surrounded by evil people, as we said, or surrounded by people that don't teach, and it's nothing that they can do. They don't have the ability to research and get the ilm. And the second type of ignorance is the ignorance that comes from pride. And the ignorance comes from just not caring and being nonchalant. And unfortunately, that's also the case of many Muslims today, especially here in New York City and South Ozone Park. Knowledge is available. You don't want to go to this masjid, that's fine. There's another masjid, and there's another masjid, and there are other masjids. People just don't care. The ilm is available. Classes are available. People are teaching Quran. People are doing this. They just don't care. I have to work. My son's getting married. My daughter's getting married. We're traveling here. We're going here on vacation. People don't have the time for classes. People don't care about the classes. Or the person teaching the class, I don't like his father or his uncle from back home. Or he's from a different race. Or he's too young or he's too old. Or whatever the case may be. And the people oftentimes, they prevent themselves from knowledge. And then when they do something haram or something bad, or they go and they make a hajj and they find out their hajj is invalid, and they find out that they made bid'ah during their hajj, they say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. It's an excuse. Allah will forgive me. No, way. Because you had the ability, what? To know. You had the ability to find out. If something goes wrong with your car, you get in touch with the special mechanic, the dealer. Something goes wrong with your house, your computer, your laptop, what do? You don't go to the bootleg guy, on Liberty Avenue. You go to the Apple what? Factory, and you give them their laptop, and they charge you an arm and a leg. And they say, we'll fix it for you. It'll take a month. Well, heck of that. So it's no excuse because of the dunya. People there are concerned. They have all the knowledge and all the know-how and the networking in the dunya. It comes to the deen, many of us just don't care. But there are some people who just don't know, as we said. And they are surrounded by levels of ignorance. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to protect us all and to keep us safe from ignorance and allow us to implement the little bit of knowledge that we can obtain. And for those of us who can obtain a lot of knowledge, we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make you of those who spread it and who teach it, and bi'idhnillahi ta'ala offer it for the people and those who may want it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Jazakumullahu khairan.